When she ripped open that box, she didn't just steal my package. She triggered the chain reaction that would turn our peaceful neighborhood into a battlefield. Before the glitter, before the police, before the chaos, let me tell you how it all started. I never planned to start a war. I just wanted my sneakers. Limited edition cosmic comets. Deep blue, silver streaks, the kind of shoes that make you feel like you're walking on a piece of the night sky. I'd spent weeks hunting them down online, finally scored a pair, and even thought about keeping them instead of selling. I took 100 photos, admired them like art, boxed them back up, and left the empty shipping box on my porch for pickup. The real pair stayed inside, safe. Or so I thought. You're watching Tomato Tales, where calm streets hide wild stories. Then came her. Karen Hulan, our HOA president, local tyrant, and self-appointed enforcer of every unwritten law in existence. She ran our cul-de-sac like a kingdom and treated every mailbox like her throne. Fines, warnings, inspections, she thrived on it. Her pride and joy was her teenage son, Grant, the kind of kid who wore arrogance like cologne. Loud, smug, always zipping around the neighborhood on his moped, thinking the world was his personal racetrack. The morning after I set out that box, it vanished. Figured the delivery truck must have picked it up early, so I didn't think twice. But 2 days later, while I was out front watering my petunias, a shade of purple I knew Karen secretly hated, I froze. Grant was swaggering down the sidewalk with his friends, laughing like he owned the street. And on his feet, sneakers. At first, my brain refused to believe it. Thousands of pairs existed. Maybe he just bought some. But then I saw it, that tiny scuff on the left toe. The one I'd made tripping over my coffee table the first time I tried them on. My hands went cold. That wasn't coincidence. That was proof Grant noticed me staring. He looked down, then up again, met my eyes, and smiled that smug, punchable grin. He gave me a wink, lifted his foot like he was modeling the shoe, then turned away, laughing with his friends. He knew the box was gone. My door had been open the day before while I was hauling mulch. Karen had been doing one of her routine shrub inspections. She must have seen her chance. I wanted to storm across the street, demand my shoes back, and call her out right there on her picture-perfect lawn. But I knew how that would play out. She'd weaponize the HOA handbook, twist the story, and somehow I'd end up with a fine for verbal misconduct during daylight hours. So I didn't fight. I didn't shout. I planned. Because when someone takes what's yours and laughs about it, the best revenge isn't noise. It's evidence. She thought she'd gotten away with it. But the next time a package showed up on my porch, it wasn't what she expected. Subscribe to Tomato Tales because the next delivery was rigged for justice. You ever feel that kind of anger that doesn't shout? It just sits there, heavy and sharp, waiting to be sharpened into something useful? That's where I was standing, holding a dripping watering can, watching my stolen sneakers walk away on someone else's feet. The smart part of me whispered, "Let it go." The angry part whispered louder, "Document everything." And so, the Hulan file was born. I grabbed a brand new notebook from the junk drawer, one with stiff pages and that satisfying snap when you open it. Across the top, in big bold ink, I wrote, "The Hulan file, evidence log. First entry, date of delivery, 3:42 p.m. Package missing by next morning. Suspect Grant Hulan. Evidence, unique scuff mark left toe." I drew the shoe, circled the scuff, underlined it twice. Petty? Maybe. But I wasn't just angry anymore, I was organized. Karen and Grant thought I was harmless, just another quiet neighbor too polite to push back. They didn't realize that some of us prefer to fight with paper trails and patience. Days passed. I expected things to cool down. Instead, they escalated. A bright orange envelope appeared on my door. "HOA violation notice. My crime? Improperly coiled garden hose, $50. I stared at the photo attached like it was evidence from a bad sitcom. I took my own picture, printed it, stapled it neatly into the Hulan file, and paid the fine with a smile so fake it could have cracked glass. A week later, another notice. Mailbox flag left up too long. Apparently a security concern, another 50. Karen's game was clear now. She wasn't content with theft. She wanted control. Death by 1,000 envelopes. But she wasn't subtle anymore, and that's where she slipped up. See, when people like Karen get comfortable, they start getting sloppy. And when they get sloppy, they leave patterns, so I started talking to my neighbors, quietly, casually. Mr. Henderson, the retired teacher down the street, told me she fined him for his wind chimes, said they caused tonal discord. His wife had given them to him before she passed away. Mrs. Gable got fined because her welcome mat faded from approved teal to distressed aqua. A young couple down the block, their toddler's sidewalk chalk counted as graffiti. Every story was the same. Humiliation wrapped in a $50 fee. The so-called beautification fund she bragged about, turns out it was beautifying 1 yard only, hers. A new fountain, new flower beds, even new lighting that conveniently wasn't on any approved list. That night, as I flipped through my growing pages, I realized this wasn't about me anymore. Karen wasn't protecting the neighborhood. She was profiting from it. And if she thought I was just going to keep paying quietly, she was about to find out what real HOA enforcement looked like. The next entry in the Hulan file wasn't written in ink. It was recorded on video. Subscribe to Tomato Tales, because the next delivery on my porch was designed to make thieves glow. The moment the box exploded, the neighborhood gasped, and Karen screamed like she'd been struck by lightning made of rainbows. But before that glitter storm covered every inch of her designer cardigan, there was planning. You ever reach that point where revenge stops being an idea and starts looking like a weekend project? That's where I was. Karen had her clipboard, her fake smile, her endless fines. I had the Hulan file, and an internet connection powerful enough to make payback sparkle. So I started researching, hours deep into YouTube's most satisfying rabbit hole. Porch Pirate Justice compilations. Each click was a masterpiece, glitter bombs, confetti cannons, fake fart sprays. I wasn't just watching for laughs. I was studying strategy, but I didn't want to copy anyone else's work. No, this wasn't about pranks. This was about precision. I wanted something clean, poetic, unforgettable, and utterly Karen-proof. Enter Mitch. Mitch was my neighbor 3 houses down. The guy nobody really talked to but everyone respected, because his garage glowed like a tech lab at 3 a.m. He was an engineer, a drone hobbyist, and a man who once built his own doorbell that quoted Star Wars every time someone pressed it. If anyone could turn karma into circuitry, it was Mitch. So one morning I wandered over while he was adjusting a drone rotor. "Hey Mitch," I said casually. "You ever build something that, teaches people a lesson?" He looked up, eyebrow raised. "Define lesson," I smiled. "Let's just say, porch pirates," he laughed once. Then said, "You want to go subtle or cinematic?" "Somewhere between Netflix documentary and court evidence," I replied. That's all it took. Within an hour he was sketching blueprints on a coffee-stained napkin, motion sensors, pressure triggers, and a pressurized glitter chamber that would burst open like a glitter nuke the second the box lifted. We worked all weekend in his garage. He handled the electronics. I handled the camouflage. The final creation looked perfectly innocent. Brown cardboard, Amazon tape, printed label with my own address. But inside, justice finely engineered. Sunday evening, as the sun dipped low, I placed the decoy on my porch. From a distance, it looked harmless. But beneath that tape was a trap worthy of a movie montage. And thanks to a hidden mini-camera tucked inside, when it finally went off, I'd have it all on video. She thought she was picking up a free package. She was actually picking up the fuse to her own glitter-covered downfall. Subscribe to Tomato Tales. Because when Karen lifted that lid, revenge finally sparkled. The scream hit before the glitter did. High-pitched, furious. The kind of sound you make when the universe decides to humble you in 4K resolution. From my window, I saw it happen like slow motion in a superhero movie. Karen Hewlin, queen of the cul-de-sac, standing on my porch with her dog in one hand and my decoy box in the other. She glanced around, checking for witnesses, of course, then bent down. The moment her manicured fingers touched the tape, I held my breath. The box tilted, the hidden sensor clicked, and then, boom! A shimmering explosion of pink, silver, and gold burst into the air like a firework made of fairy dust. Glitter sprayed across her hair, her sunglasses, her dog, even the porch columns. The air itself sparkled for a full 5 seconds before gravity remembered it had a job. Karen shrieked, staggering backward as her Pomeranian, Mr. Snuffles, bolted down the sidewalk like a tiny fuzzy rocket. I swear the world paused. Then my laughter broke it. It wasn't cruel laughter. It was relief. Weeks of silent frustration, $100 worth of fake fines and stolen sneakers, all washed away in a single burst of shimmering karma. And best of all, Mitch's camera caught everything. Every flinch, every glitter particle, every dramatic scream. 1080p, 60 frames per second. But here's the part I didn't expect. Neighbors started peeking out. Curtains parted. Doors opened. It was like everyone had been waiting for this exact moment. Mr. Henderson stepped out with his coffee mug, smirking. Mrs. Gable laughed so hard she had to sit on her porch steps. Even the new couple with the chalk-drawing toddler clapped. Karen, dripping in pink sparkles, turned redder than her no parking signs. She tried brushing it off, but glitter doesn't brush off. It clings. It embeds itself into the fabric of your mistakes. Then her eyes met mine through the window. Her jaw dropped. For a second I thought she was going to march straight across the street and explode again. But she didn't. She froze. Her lips tightened. And then she smiled. That smile wasn't embarrassment. It was vengeance. She pointed one glitter-covered finger at my house, turned around, and stomped home, leaving a trail of shimmer behind her like a sparkly villain retreating to her lair. I should have felt satisfied. But something in that smile told me the war wasn't over, because when the queen of the HOA gets humiliated in public, she doesn't forgive. She retaliates. Subscribe to Tomato Tales because the glitter might have settled. But the storm was just getting started. You'd think after being baptized in glitter and public humiliation, most people would hide for a week, maybe move states. But Karen Hewlin? She didn't hide. She retaliated. The next morning, my mailbox looked like a crime scene. 3 new envelopes from the HOA, each stamped in red, bold letters, notice of violation. The crimes. 1. Unauthorized recording device on property. Improper waste disposal. Glitter residue observed on public walkway. Failure. To maintain neighborhood decorum. That last one wasn't even real. I checked the bylaws page by page. Neighborhood decorum wasn't written anywhere. But there it was, printed like a law. Karen had invented a new rule overnight. She'd gone full monarch. I wasn't the only one either. The neighborhood message board exploded with her posts. We're dealing with a resident who believes vandalism is humor. There will be an emergency HOA meeting to discuss recent glitter-related incidents. Attendance is mandatory. By noon, everyone was talking about it. I couldn't step outside without feeling eyes on me. Some smiled, others whispered. I was either a hero or a menace, nothing in between. Even Mitch, who'd helped me build the trap, looked nervous. Maybe we went too far, he said. I laughed, but it came out thin. Too far's when she stole my shoes. This is justice with flair. But deep down, I knew he wasn't wrong. Karen wasn't just angry, she was strategic. She thrived on paperwork and politics, and if she couldn't find me into silence, she'd try to shame me out of existence. 2 days later, she called the meeting. The community hall was packed. Every neighbor, every complaint, every fake smile. Karen stood at the front, still sparkling faintly from stray glitter she couldn't scrub off. Her voice trembled, not with embarrassment, but power. Some residents, she began, have chosen to engage in acts of hostility unbecoming of this community. Her eyes found mine. We must set an example before this neighborhood falls into chaos. She wasn't just trying to find me. She was trying to exile me. But what she didn't know was that I'd been preparing my next move too. The Hulan file wasn't just a notebook anymore. It was digital. Every fine, every photo, every voice recording neatly stored in a drive ready for backup. If Karen wanted a war, I was ready to play general. Because the next time she stood at that podium, I wouldn't be the one on trial. She would. Subscribe to Tomato Tales, because the HOA's queen was about to lose her crown. Power's a funny thing. The moment someone starts losing it, they grip it tighter. And that's when it begins to crumble. Karen was crumbling, and she didn't even see it happening. After the HOA meeting, I realized something crucial. She didn't fear me because of what I'd done. She feared me because of what I knew. While she stood there wagging her clipboard, declaring that decorum must be restored, half the neighborhood was scrolling through their phones, reading a little anonymous email I'd sent that morning. It was simple. Just 3 sentences. Ever wonder where your HOA money really goes? Check your bylaws, then take a walk by Karen's new fountain. Follow the receipts. By the time the meeting ended, whispers had already spread. People weren't talking about my glitter trap anymore. They were talking about her finances. The next day, the shift was visible. Neighbors who once avoided me started stopping by. Mr. Henderson brought coffee. Mrs. Gable offered cookies for the warrior. Even the young couple waved as I watered my plants. But the best part? Karen's front yard, normally pristine, was suddenly a mess of arguments. Neighbors standing on her lawn, holding printouts of financial statements, asking questions she couldn't dodge. Karen, how come the neighborhood maintenance budget lists a $200 expense for decorative lighting on your house? And why are HOA funds covering your landscaper's bill? She stammered through excuses, clerical errors, temporary reallocations, board-approved decisions. But the glitter still clung to her hair, sparkling under the sunlight as if karma itself was mocking her. Behind my curtain, I smiled. Not a petty smile, a satisfied one. This wasn't revenge anymore. This was balance. Still, I knew she wasn't finished. When you corner someone like Karen, they don't surrender. They scheme. That evening, I found a note shoved under my door. No envelope, just one sentence in bold, neat handwriting. You've made your point. Now stop before I make mine. The paper smelled faintly of her perfume. That's when I realized she wasn't trying to save her reputation anymore. She was coming for me. She wanted a quiet neighborhood. She was about to get noise she couldn't silence. Subscribe to Tomato Tales because the next move in this war wasn't legal. It was personal. Rumors spread faster than glitter in the wind. And Karen had both working for her. Within 2 days of that note sliding under my door, the neighborhood mood changed again. People weren't avoiding me because of the glitter incident anymore. They were avoiding me because of what Karen was saying about it. It started small. A couple of whispers at the mailbox. Then a Facebook post in the neighborhood group. Just a reminder that harassment and surveillance of neighbors are serious violations. Please report any suspicious activity. No names, no details. But everyone knew exactly who she meant. Next came the noise complaints. Every night that week I got emails from the HOA. Unapproved music volume. Loud power tools after 8 p.m. Disturbance reported on your property. Funny thing, I hadn't even been home 2 of those nights. Karen was manufacturing chaos. And it worked. People who had smiled at me days earlier now crossed the street. The same ones who had laughed when she got blasted in glitter now acted like I was radioactive. That's what she was good at, warping perception. She didn't need proof. Just poison. Mitch noticed too. She's building a narrative, he said. If she can make you look unstable, you lose credibility. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Then it's time I make her look honest. On camera. See, while Karen was spreading rumors, I'd been setting traps of my own. Hidden cameras, doorbell audio logs, HOA emails saved and timestamped. I'd even created a fake HOA complaint form online, one that tracked every IP address submitting reports. Guess whose name came up 27 times? Cindy? By the end of the week, I had everything. The lies, the fake tickets, the bogus violations. All of it neatly organized, backed up, and printed. The Hulan File 2.0. I didn't know when I'd use it, but I knew the day was coming. Still, there was something unnerving about her silence that weekend. No emails, no fines, no comments, just calm. And when Karen goes quiet, it doesn't mean peace. It means plotting, so I kept watching, waiting, until one evening I came home to find something new taped to my front door. It wasn't a violation this time. It was a flyer. Bold letters across the top. Emergency HOA election meeting, proposal for immediate leadership change. And underneath it, my name. Karen wanted to destroy my reputation. She just handed me a stage to destroy hers. Subscribe to Tomato Tales, because the next meeting wasn't about rules anymore. It was about revenge in plain sight. You could feel the tension in the air before the meeting even started. Thick, heavy, like static before a storm. Karen had called for a special election, claiming she wanted to restore order to the neighborhood. But everyone knew what this really was. My public execution. The community hall was packed. Folding chairs squeaked, papers shuffled, whispers echoed. Every seat was filled with the same people she'd fined, shamed, or manipulated. And tonight, they were her audience. Karen stood at the front, clipboard in hand. That same smile painted across her face like armor. "Thank you for attending," she began, her voice syrupy sweet. "I've called this meeting to address the growing hostility in our community, particularly from one resident whose behavior has endangered our harmony." Her eyes locked on me like a spotlight. I didn't flinch. She clicked her pen. "I'll be proposing a motion to remove this individual's voting privileges and restrict participation in HOA activities until further notice." A murmur spread through the crowd. She had practiced this speech. She thought she was winning. Then I stood, calm, measured. "Karen," I said, "before you go any further, maybe the neighborhood deserves to see what harmony looks like under your leadership." I turned on the small projector I'd borrowed from Mitch. The screen flickered, then displayed a photo of Karen's backyard fountain, complete with the line item from the HOA's own financial records. Gasps. One by one, the slides rolled through: landscaping reimbursements, private maintenance fees, decorative lighting installation. Each expense linked directly to her address. And then came the final slide, a still image of her, caught by the hidden porch camera, opening my decoy package. Glitter mid-explosion, frame perfect. The room erupted. Laughter, outrage, shock, it was chaos. Karen turned white. This is harassment. You invaded my privacy," she sputtered. I held up the Hulan file, thick, worn, full of every piece of evidence she'd ever given me. "No, Karen. This is accountability." She lunged for the projector cord, but Mitch beat her to it, pulling the plug and stepping between us. "Meeting's over," he said quietly, but the damage was already done. The board members whispered among themselves. One stood, adjusting his glasses. "Effective immediately," he announced. "Karen Hulan is suspended from HOA duties pending investigation." The room broke into applause. Karen just stood there, covered in invisible glitter, defeated, trembling. As I walked past her, I leaned in and whispered, "That's for the sneakers." but I should have known better. People like Karen don't vanish quietly, they reload. Subscribe to Tomato Tales, because what she did next turned the whole neighborhood upside down. You can't humiliate a control freak and expect silence. Silence isn't surrender. It's strategy. For 2 days after the HOA meeting, Karen disappeared. No cars in her driveway. No barking from her dog. Her windows stayed dark, her fountain dry. It was eerie. Like the queen had abandoned her castle. Mitch thought it was over. "She's done," he said, relief in his voice. "You took her crown." But I'd seen that look before, the quiet before something explodes. Then on the third night the sound came. Not loud, just a faint crunch outside my window, gravel, slow footsteps. I killed the lights and peered through the blinds. There she was, Karen. Hoodie up, flashlight in one hand, something metallic in the other. She crept along my fence line, pausing every few feet. Then came a faint scratching sound. Spray paint. I watched stunned as she tagged my fence in sloppy red letters. Thief. She wasn't just angry, she was unraveling. I grabbed my phone, started recording, and stepped outside. "Karen," I said, calm but loud enough to cut through the night. She froze. The flashlight beam caught her face. Glitter still clung to her hair like a curse that wouldn't wash off. "You think you can ruin me?" she hissed. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone." "You did that yourself," I said. "You stole my dignity," she snapped. I shrugged. "Guess where even you stole my shoes." Her eyes flared. For a second I thought she might actually lunge. Instead she dropped the can, turned, and ran back toward her house. By the time the cops arrived, called by Mitch, who'd seen everything from his window, Karen had locked herself inside. But the damage was done. Not to my fence, but to her reputation. Because the video I'd taken that night didn't stay private for long. It hit the neighborhood chat group by morning, then Facebook. Then the local news station picked it up as HOA president caught vandalizing neighbor's fence. Her empire collapsed overnight. Sponsors pulled out of her pet charity drive. Her husband quietly moved out, and the HOA board voted her out for good. For the first time in months, the neighborhood felt peaceful again. No fines, no notes, no glitter, just calm, or at least it seemed that way. Because just when I thought the story was over, an envelope showed up in my mailbox with no return address, and a single photo inside. It was me, standing at my window the night of the glitter bomb. The photo felt heavier than paper should. Grainy, black and white, shot through my window on the night of the glitter trap. Same angle as my own footage, only this time I was the one being watched. For a long moment I just stared at it. The porch light, my reflection in the glass, the faint shadow behind me. Whoever took it had been close. Too close. I flipped the photo over, blank. No note, no name. Just that eerie silence that comes when you realize the game might not be over. I showed it to Mitch. He frowned, squinting. "That's your house from the west side. Nobody has that angle unless they're standing in Karen's yard." But Karen was gone. After the vandalism, she'd packed up, left town, and put her house on the market. It didn't make sense until the next night. I came home late, headlights sweeping across my porch. There, leaning against the mailbox, was another box, plain, taped shut. No label. I froze. Every instinct screamed, "Don't touch it." But curiosity is a dangerous thing. I picked it up, carried it inside, and set it on the counter. The weight felt familiar, too familiar. I opened the top slowly. Inside was a single object, a shoe. My old cosmic comet. The one with the scuff on the left toe. I swear my chest went cold. There was no note, no message. Just that one sneaker sitting in the middle of the box like a memory I hadn't buried deep enough. Mitch came over the next morning, staring at it like it might bite. "Could she have sent it?" he asked. I shook my head. If she wanted to scare me, she'd have done it in person. We checked the box for fingerprints. Nothing. The security cameras? Offline for 4 hours that night. Power surge. It was too clean. Whoever left that box wasn't just trying to spook me. They were telling me something. That's when it hit me. The original delivery, the one Karen stole, wasn't the real start of this story. The box on my porch had been a trigger. Someone had wanted this war to happen. Maybe Karen had been a pawn. Maybe I had too. I looked down at that sneaker, still shining faintly under the kitchen light. After all the chaos, the fines, the glitter, the revenge, it all came full circle, back to the porch where it began. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger. Just unease, 'cause wars end when the enemy surrenders. But this one, it felt like a message. Round 2, maybe it's over. Or maybe someone else is just getting started. Peace is a strange thing. You think you want it until you get it. Then you realize peace can be louder than chaos. Weeks passed since the box appeared. No more fines, no notes, no midnight footsteps on gravel. The neighborhood went back to normal, or at least what looked normal. Kids rode bikes again. Mr. Henderson's wind chimes sang without a single complaint. Even the HOA newsletters arrived with cheerful, typo-filled optimism. Karen's house stayed empty. For sale sign out front, price slashed twice, grass overgrown. The fountain, dry and cracked, like the kingdom had fallen and nature took back the throne. Sometimes I'd catch myself staring at it from my porch, remembering the way she used to pace that yard, clipboard in hand, ruling her tiny empire. Now all that was left was silence, and that single sneaker sitting on my shelf. I couldn't throw it away. Every time I tried, something stopped me. Maybe guilt. Maybe curiosity. Maybe both. Mitch said I should move on. Start fresh, he told me. You won, man. Let it go, he was right. Tried, but strange things started happening. The porch camera, the new one I installed, would flicker around 3 a.m. every few nights. Just static. Then clear. Then static again. Once I thought I saw movement, just a blur at the edge of the frame. But when I checked the playback, it was gone. Then came the mail. A small postcard slipped between bills, plain white. No message on the front, just a single printed line on the back. Keep watching the porch. No return address. I stared at it for an hour, trying to tell myself it was a prank. But the font, it was the same blocky, bold type Karen used on every HOA notice. Mitch said it was coincidence. I wanted to believe him. But deep down, a voice whispered something different. Something I didn't want to say out loud. What if Karen wasn't gone? What if someone else picked up where she left off? I set the postcard next to the sneaker on my shelf. 2 relics of a war that shouldn't have happened, but did. And as the porch light flickered outside, I realized something chilling. In neighborhoods like ours, order doesn't die. It hides. And when it's ready, it knocks. Because sometimes the quietest streets hide the loudest secrets. Subscribe to Tomato Tales. Because this story isn't just about glitter and revenge. It's about what's waiting on your porch tonight. It happened exactly 1 month after the glitter explosion. Same date, same hour, same eerie silence. I was sitting at my desk editing footage for what I thought would be the final video in the Hulan File series. The glow of my monitor filled the room, the hum of the ceiling fan cutting through the quiet. Then thud, a knock. Not the usual 3 taps of a delivery. Just one, heavy, intentional. I froze. Through the window, the porch light flickered. Once, twice, then went out completely. For a moment, I thought it was just the power again. But then I saw it, a box. Small, square, familiar. Sitting right where it all began. No tape this time, no label. Just a single handwritten word on top. Return. My pulse quickened. I grabbed my phone, hit record, and stepped outside. The air was cold. The kind of still that makes sound echo too loud. I crouched, studying the box. Same dimensions as the glitter trap. Same fold pattern. Even the same faint crease on the bottom flap. Whoever made this knew every detail. I took a deep breath and lifted the lid. No explosion. No glitter. Just silence. Inside was a folded envelope and another photo. It was Karen, but not how I remembered her. She was sitting in what looked like a hospital room, eyes sunken, hair messy, but smiling, almost peacefully. The photo had a timestamp. 2 days ago, my stomach turned. Karen was gone. But not gone. I opened the envelope. Inside, there was a short note written in that same careful handwriting I'd seen on every HOA warning she ever gave me. You win some, you learn some. Keep the shoe. You'll need it. That's when I noticed something else inside the box, an identical sneaker. The right one, both shoes. Reunited, sitting side by side on my porch. I don't know what it meant. Truce, a message, a warning. But one thing was clear. Someone had delivered it. Someone who knew exactly what these shoes had started. Maybe it was her husband. Maybe Mitch, or maybe Karen herself. The next morning I replayed the porch camera footage. It glitched right as the box appeared. Static for 4 seconds, then clear again. No figure, no movement. No shadow, just the box. To this day, I still don't know who left it there. But every night when I walk past the window and see those sneakers sitting side by side, I swear they shimmer, just faintly, in the porch light. And that's when I remember, some wars never really end. They just wait for their next delivery. Because in this neighborhood the packages may stop coming, but the stories never do. Subscribe to Tomato Tales, where the next box might just be yours. You ever notice how quiet your street gets after midnight? The kind of quiet that makes you realize you're the only one awake. And maybe not the only one watching. That's how it feels now. Every night, the neighborhood moved on. Karen's house finally sold. To a young couple with a golden retriever and smiles that don't quite reach their eyes. They trimmed her overgrown bushes, filled the fountain again, even repainted the fence where she'd left her message. From the outside, everything looks perfect, but perfection is funny. It's the first sign something's wrong. The HOA replaced her with a new president, Ellen Price. She's polite, efficient, professional. But there's something about her handwriting on the monthly bulletins. Blocky, precise, almost familiar. I tried to ignore it. I tried to sleep normally again, to convince myself that the glitter, the war, the boxes were just chapters in a story finally closed. But sometimes late at night I hear it. That single knock, not every night. Not even regularly. Just enough to remind me the story's not done telling itself. Mitch says it's probably the wind, or a raccoon. Maybe he's right, but he's been distant lately. Doesn't answer calls as much. His garage stays closed now. The man who once built gadgets for fun barely says a word about the whole ordeal. I think he saw something that night, and whatever it was, he doesn't want to remember it. Last week I walked by the new neighbor's porch, Karen's old house. A package sat by their door. Same brown tape, same shape, same crease on the bottom flap. I stood there longer than I should have, staring at it, half expecting it to hum or sparkle or burst into color. But it didn't. It just sat there waiting. When I finally walked away, I realized I'd been holding my breath the entire time. That's when it hit me. The war wasn't about Karen, or sneakers, or glitter. It was about how easily one box can change everything. One porch, one moment, one choice. And suddenly, your peaceful little neighborhood turns into a chessboard you never knew you were playing on. Now, every time a delivery truck slows in front of my house, I feel that same pull in my chest. The mix of fear, curiosity, and something else I can't quite name. Maybe it's paranoia, or maybe it's instinct, because the last box I opened ended a war. But the next one might start something worse. So next time you see a package waiting on your porch, ask yourself one question. Do you really know who sent it? I'm Tomato Tales. Subscribe if you want to find out what happens when curiosity knocks.